anybody don't like it, come see the king. And we gonna start with 50. Please tell 50 bring his on out here and get this smoke. Please tell 50 Cent get his hit records and come on celebrate you.
Yes, sir.
But if you get a chance, you hear me? You hear me, Kevin?
I'm listening to you. Yeah, I'm listening to you.
If you get a chance.
Yes, sir.
New York been saying under their breath about us and having little slick comments about us, thinking it's all slow down here. But they want to come down here and go to our malls and go to our clubs. But then they want to kick it like we substandard when they get back up top.
A leaked security video just surfaced, showing Jim Jones and T.I allegedly rolling up on 50 Cent backstage at a concert, and the whole scene has people talking. This wasn't random chaos. This was tension that had been building for weeks. Quiet shots, coded messages, and a vibe that something was bound to spill over. But the real story with 50 Cent, Jim Jones, and T.I goes way deeper than one backstage moment. This is nearly 20 years of back and forth, sometimes with music, sometimes with jokes, sometimes with business plays. They've taken plenty of swings at each other, just never physical ones.
Hey, listen, hey, I'm the king below the Mason-Dixon line, king of the South. I speak for all of the Southern people. So anybody don't like it, come see the king. And we gonna start with 50. And if he don't wanna do it, then we gonna go pick somebody else.
See, all full-fledged with the South.
I want him to see what the South got to say.
Their history is layered and messy, the kind of thing that never fully cools down. To understand why this beef keeps dragging into new eras, you have to go back. In the mid-2000s, New York hip-hop felt like a battlefield. Two crews were fighting for the crown. G-Unit, led by 50, stood on one side. Dipset, with Cameron in front and Jim Jones right beside him, stood on the other. It wasn't just music. It was power, influence, and the streets choosing which flag to stand behind.
Yeah, I just seen the Breakfast Club. Jimmy popping on.
50 took shots at Cameron over Dipset's deal with Coke Records, calling them irrelevant, and that turned the tension into something heavier. Jim Jones wasn't the main target at first, but nobody in Dipset missed the message. Everybody on both sides felt the temperature rising. Then came 2007, when 50 pulled one of the coldest moves of that era. While beefing with Cameron, he brought Jim Jones and Jules Santana, the core of Dipset, on stage as surprise guests at his show. That wasn't unity, that wasn't peace, that was strategy.
Younger audience, we had like a rap battle thing at one time. 50, what you did, so we was having interior problems at Dipset. Nobody knew about this. Nobody knew that we was like not on the same page.
Right.
So when me and you were battling during our music thing, you got members of Dipset to come to your show.
50 later admitted he planned the whole thing. It was meant to shake Dipset, make Cameron start wondering who around him was solid and who might drift. It was meant to twist the energy inside the camp. And the wild part is that it worked. The damage inside Dipset was real, even if nobody wanted to admit it at the time. Jim Jones brushed it off back then, but years later, he called 50's move straight up devious. In interviews, he talked about how 50 used Dipset's own cracks against them, taking a quiet issue inside the crew and turning it into a public weakness. That moment in 2007 didn't fade. It grew.
Yeah, I just seen the Breakfast Club. Jimmy popping all that bullshit. I be seeing Jimmy talking about, we Gucci boo boo. He in the Gucci store. Talking about, we Gucci boo boo.
It showed everybody that 50 Cent wasn't just trying to win a beef. He was trying to break teams apart from the inside. And Jim Jones never let that slide from his memory. While that storm was happening in New York, another beef was forming down south. Between 2004 and 2007, 50 started throwing shots at T.I over his federal gun case. He questioned T.I.'s toughness, hinting that taking a plea deal meant he got an easy route. He even turned it into a lyric, saying, "You so tough," making it clear he didn't respect how T.I handled his situation. T.I didn't fire back right away. He kept his cool, but the disrespect got stored. It sat there, waiting. By the end of the 2000s, 50 had tension hitting him from two angles. With Jim Jones, it was loyalty, betrayal, and sneaky crew politics. With T.I, it was about street credibility and respect. These weren't random arguments. They were born from the ego-heavy, competitive energy of mid-2000s hip-hop, and they simmered for years before they sparked again. What people forget is this: none of this beef was physical. Not then and not now. The video title might make it sound like Jim Jones and T.I jumped 50 backstage, but that never happened. What did happen was a long stretch of verbal hits, mind games, and public shots meant to bruise reputations. And the story was about to get even messier. After the 2007 on-stage stunt, the tension between 50 and Jim didn't disappear. It just went quiet for a while. Both men chased new projects, new headlines, new drama, but the resentment stayed under the surface, waiting for the right trigger. And when it finally came back, it didn't return the way anybody expected. It came through a federal courtroom and a couple of Jim selfies. Around 2017 and 2018, Jim Jones decided to poke the bear again. Jim Jones jumped back into the mix when he posted a workout video on social media, calling 50 Cent out for a gym competition. On the surface, it looked like two rappers showing off who could lift more weight. But in hip-hop beefs, nothing is ever that simple. Every move is a message, a silent battle, a way of saying who really runs the room. The gym challenge wasn't about fitness, it was a statement. Jones was basically saying he was still standing strong and he wasn't scared of 50. 50 brushed it off with his own posts, dragging Jones and clowning the challenge. That pushed Jones to raise the stakes even more, suggesting they settle the whole thing with a boxing match. Of course, the fight never happened. Instead, the whole situation slipped into a back and forth online, more jokes than action. For a short moment, both men acted like things were cool. In interviews, they described their relationship as great, but anybody watching closely could see that wasn't the real story. At best, it was a thin layer of peace covering years of unfinished tension. The beef wasn't gone. It was waiting for another spark. Then 2019 hit, and the spark arrived in the form of the most explosive twist this feud had seen. Tekashi 6ix9ine's RICO trial pulled both 50 Cent and Jim Jones into the spotlight in ways nobody expected. Both had connections to the rainbow-haired rapper, and when Tekashi took the stand, he described Jim Jones as a retired rapper tied to the 9 Trey gangster bloods. That alone was damaging. Any artist who built their identity on realness does not want their street history dissected in a federal courtroom. But it didn't stop there. A wiretap phone call came out during the trial where Jones seemed to talk about violating 6ix9ine, a conversation prosecutors viewed as hinting at physical harm. The moment that audio hit the public, the narrative shifted again. And 50 Cent, being who he is, was never going to let a moment like that slide without jumping in. 50 Cent did not let that moment slide. He resurfaced the transcript of the wiretapped call across social media, tagging Jim Jones and hinting that Jones was cooperating with law enforcement. In hip-hop, accusing someone of snitching is the closest thing to dropping a nuclear bomb. It can erase your credibility overnight, and 50 used that angle with sharp precision, posting screenshots, commentary, and jokes aimed right at Jones. Jones pushed back hard. He denied ever working with federal agents and flipped the accusation back on 50, calling him the real supporter of rats. He was pointing to 50's public friendship with 6ix9ine, who became infamous for testifying against members of his own crew. It was a smart response, but the damage was already moving. People had heard the snitching rumor, and it stuck to Jones in a way he could not fully shake. 50 kept bringing it up whenever he had the chance. That was the difference with this particular beef. It wasn't regular rap back and forth. It wasn't about who sold more records or who ran the charts. This feud touched territory with real stakes. Street credibility, federal cases, courtroom transcripts, and the kind of accusations that can shadow someone for years. Even with all that pressure, things never turned physical. No fights, no attacks, no actual backstage confrontations, just a long trail of posts, interviews, and trolling that carried the tension into the early 2020s. Jones claimed Dipset built the mixtape wave before G-Unit did, and 50 immediately jumped online calling him a liar. When a viral clip showed Jones in an unrelated airport scuffle, 50 appeared in the comments section clowning him without hesitation. Any slip, any awkward moment Jones had in public became fresh content for 50's Instagram. And through all of it, Jones kept swinging back. He never went quiet, he never decided to tap out, and he never stopped trading shots. But the pattern was obvious. 50 controlled the tempo. He initiated the jokes, the narratives, the angles. Jones was always in response mode, always trying to keep up with a guy who lives for this kind of digital sparring. Jim Jones kept trying to keep up with 50's non-stop energy online, but on the T.I. side of things, everything had been calm for years. After their early shots in the mid-2000s, T.I. and 50 mostly stayed out of each other's way. But that silence didn't mean peace. It just meant the next spark hadn't landed yet, and when it finally came, it came loud. T.I. had his own challenge ready, and 50 wanted no part of it. If the tension between 50 and Jim Jones revolved around snitching narratives and street politics, the tension between 50 and T.I. centered on something far more public. Verzuz. Verzuz was the pandemic-era hit battle series where two artists lined up their biggest songs and let the world decide who had the stronger legacy. It became a cultural event. Icons went against icons. Everyone watched, and T.I. wanted his shot at 50. Between 2020 and 2021, T.I. repeatedly challenged 50 Cent to a Verzuz showdown. He did it on camera, in interviews, and all over social media. He said straight up that he believed he could go hit for hit with one of the most dominant artists hip-hop ever produced. T.I. wasn't joking. He wanted the smoke. 50's first response was polite. He said T.I. simply wasn't on his level. But the decline alone created a ripple. T.I. claimed the two had privately agreed to do it, and that 50 backed out when it was time to make it public. Whether that story is true depends on who you choose to believe. But in the court of public opinion, the optics hurt T.I. more than anyone. It made T.I. look like he wasn't taken seriously. And for a man who brands himself the king of the South, that kind of disrespect hits hard. T.I.'s frustration with 50's refusal kept growing, and he stopped trying to hide it. In a heated moment, he laid out exactly what he wanted from the battle, exactly why it mattered. T.I. wasn't just speaking for himself. He was speaking as the South's ambassador, representing every Southern artist who ever felt ignored or brushed aside by New York. That title he always claimed, King of the South, suddenly carried a new level of weight. This wasn't just a Verzuz request anymore. T.I. was framing it as a cultural statement. That line showed the world everything. T.I. wanted 50 first, and if 50 wasn't ready to step up, T.I. was willing to move on to whoever came next. The challenge stayed on the table whether 50 responded or not, but 50 never answered the way T.I. wanted. No phone call, no booking a venue, no showing up with 2 decades of hits. That silence became the foundation for what was waiting in early 2026, because that year was the moment everything blew wide open. If the previous decade was a slow burn, early 2026 felt like someone finally poured gasoline on both feuds. The tension between 50 and Jim Jones and the tension between 50 and T.I. erupted at the same time, creating one of the wildest stretches in recent hip-hop history. And even without any physical run-ins, the level of pettiness and intensity made it feel like straight chaos. Starting with Jim Jones. In December 2025, he went on his podcast and called 50's Netflix documentary about Diddy a mockumentary. That one word broke whatever thin truce they had left. 50 didn't respond with a diss track. He didn't drop threats. He went straight into business mode, the way only he does. First, 50 leaked audio from Jim Jones's landlord claiming Jones hadn't paid rent on his Bronx podcast studio. Then he hinted that he himself had some level of ownership or involvement in the property. And after that came the surveillance footage, a video showing Jim Jones kicking at the door of the studio, appearing frustrated after the locks were changed. And this is where the reality needs to be clear. The footage showed Jones alone at a door, upset and trying to get in. It wasn't an attack on 50. It wasn't a backstage fight. Nobody got jumped. It was one man trying to enter a building he believed he still had access to. But 50 framed the whole thing as an eviction moment, and the internet ran with it immediately. 50 posted the video along with documents, and even posed with the landlord in photos just to add that extra layer of petty energy. He turned someone else's property issue into social media content, and within hours, the story was everywhere. Jones clapped back by paying the rent and dropping memes, denying that any eviction had happened. He went on The Breakfast Club and talked his side with confidence. And once 50 saw the interview, he didn't stay quiet. He came right back again, keeping the cycle going. The power dynamic became obvious. 50 was laughing his way through the situation while Jim Jones was the one explaining and defending. Moving into early 2026, 50 kept taking shots at Jones's finances and even at people around him, including Mineo and Faust. Jones teased a few potential diss tracks, but never actually dropped them. Then things got even more uncomfortable. Cameron, Jones's former Dipset brother, publicly sided with 50 and even performed with him. It looked like the same strategy from 2007 was back in motion. 50 was peeling people away from Jones's circle, leaving him standing alone. While 50 was busy tearing down Jones's image piece by piece, T.I started launching his own offensive, and this one had weight behind it. Early 2026, T.I brought up the Verzuz conversation again in interviews and said he didn't respect 50's character. That was already a sharp statement. But 50 escalated instantly by posting an unflattering picture of T.I.'s wife, Tiny, paired with a caption telling T.I to stop speaking on him. Most rappers avoid dragging family into a beef. 50 didn't hesitate, and that was the breaking point. On February 22, 2026, T.I unloaded a series of diss tracks. The first one, Battle, was aggressive and set the tone. Then came the right one, What, Bully, and Lessons. These were not thrown together or casual. These were calculated shots. T.I called 50 a bully and pointed to 50's past losses, including battles with Rick Ross and Fat Joe. He named rappers he believed would beat 50 in a Verzuz, including Nas and LL Cool J. Then things escalated further when T.I.'s family stepped into the fight. His son King Harris posted videos taking aim at 50, bringing up 50's late mother and posting tombstone imagery. Another son, Domani, dropped his own diss track with a calmer tone but a sharper message, breaking down the way 50 presents himself to the public. 50's response to all of this was pure trolling. Memes, frog emojis, edited videos, more jokes aimed at Tiny. He even put together a Nobel Beef Prize comedy skit during a nightclub show, poking fun at how many feuds he was juggling at the same time. At the same time, T.I was releasing track after track. 50 made a public announcement that stunned everyone. He said he would not record a single diss aimed at T.I. No verses, no bars, no musical response at all. Just laughter. And that move cut deeper than any lyric could. Refusing to take T.I seriously as a musical opponent while T.I was putting his full effort into the battle created a silent blow that hit harder than a diss track. Here's the truth behind rap feuds. They rarely start with something major. Most of the time, it begins with a small jab in an interview, a bar that hits a little too close, a repost that feels shady, or a laugh emoji dropped at the wrong moment. In hip-hop, respect is everything. One phrase can signal disrespect, one joke can signal betrayal, and when pride, money, crews, and legacy are involved, even tiny sparks can turn into a fire that spreads fast. What fans see as harmless comments often means something heavier to the artists involved. These rappers move with entire histories behind them, crews, reputations, old tensions. So when something sets them off, it's almost never about just that moment. It's about years of energy piling up. That's how these feuds grow. Quiet shots, public reactions. Then suddenly it's not about music anymore. It turns personal. And once it becomes personal, there is no clean reset. Every move has to top the last one. Every response has to sound stronger. Social media boosts the tension, blogs push narratives, fans pick sides, and pride blocks anyone from backing down. Sometimes it's competition, sometimes it's clout chasing, sometimes it's old wounds that never healed. But the pattern never really changes. A tiny crack in respect becomes a headline, then it becomes a diss, then it becomes a confrontation. There's even footage from 2007 that keeps resurfacing during these conversations. Clips of Jim Jones standing on stage with 50 Cent during the Cameron beef era. The video shows nothing more than an awkward moment between old rivals, but the internet keeps recycling it, twisting it into new narratives every time the beef flares up again. It's been reshared for nearly 2 decades. What has gone down between Jim Jones, T.I, and 50 Cent is something hip-hop has seen many times. These 3 men have been spinning around each other for close to 20 years, and through it all, 50 has kept his spot at the center of rap drama by mastering a different kind of weapon. He doesn't swing fists, he swings posts, screenshots, leaked files, embarrassing photos, memes, and the wild thing is, those tools often hit harder than any punch would. Jim Jones has spent years trying to match 50's non-stop energy, but he keeps ending up a step behind. Not because he lacks skill or toughness, but because 50 has turned pettiness into a full business model. Every reaction Jones gives becomes fresh material for 50's content machine. The Breakfast Club clip becomes content. The door-kicking footage becomes content. The rent situation becomes content. Jones is fighting on a battlefield that 50 designed, so he can't win because the rules were never built in his favor. T.I.'s approach stood in sharp contrast. Instead of playing into 50's trolling style, he went all the way in with force. 4 diss tracks in 2 days. Family stepping into the mix. Direct shots at 50's legacy and character. T. I put everything on the table. And 50 answered by laughing, dropping frog emojis, and refusing to record even a single line in response. That refusal was its own kind of disrespect. By not rapping back, 50 sent a message louder than a diss track. He basically said, T, I wasn't worth the time it would take to turn on the mic. T.I. later admitted in another conversation that his relationship with 50 wasn't all hostility. He mentioned they had worked together as executive producers on a show outside the Power universe and described their dynamic in surprisingly open terms. That honesty changed the tone of the story. It showed these two men weren't living in completely separate worlds. Their careers crossed paths, and they understood each other more than fans realized. As T.I. put it, me and 50 cool. I'm the only one who's not offended by his brass approach, and he's not offended by mine. That line might be the clearest summary of their entire feud. 2 artists who push hard, talk rough, and still understand where the boundaries are. So while the internet keeps talking about supposed backstage fights, the reality is far simpler. This is just 3 rappers doing what rappers have always done: competing, provoking, performing for the public eye, and keeping their names alive in a culture that never stops watching. But the truth is, this feud is still very real, and if history tells us anything, it's nowhere near finished. When egos, long memories, and street reputations crash into each other, things rarely stay at the level of simple words. The energy around these 3 keeps shifting, and every new moment feels like it could set off another chapter. So the real question now is simple. If this situation keeps heating up, how far do you think it could actually go? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know your take. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who follows the culture, and I'll see you on the next one.